Good, happy Thursday evening, February 2020. I'm Riley King, and welcome to this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. We have a lot of news to get to this evening. First up, new rendering released for unidentified girl found in barrel in Allenstown. Unidentified girl is biological daughter of suspected killer Terry Pederasmy. Let's take a listen to that video from WR News 9.
Pushed out the door when it matters most. For more than a decade, he's been right there, everywhere. And when American jobs are on the line, he leads the charge. ABC's World News Tonight with David Muir is America's most watched newscast, and we thank you.
Some breaking news this noon. Forensic investigators have released a new image of the last unidentified victim in the Bear Brook murder case. This new sketch is based on new genealogical research showing the girl is mainly Caucasian with some amount of Asian, Black, and Native American ancestry. Investigators hope the new image will help jog someone's memory and lead to clues about the girl's identity. The girl was between 2 and 4 years old when she died. She is one of 4 murder victims found buried in barrels near Bear Brook State Park in Allenstown. The other victims were identified last year as Marilise Honeychurch and her daughters, Marie Vaughn and Sarah McWaters. DNA tests showed this girl was not biologically related to them, but she is the daughter of a man named Terry Rasmussen, believed to be a serial killer who murdered the Allenstown victims and at least one other person in California. You can find a timeline of this case and information on how to share any details you might have on WMBR.com and our mobile app.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Manchester Road reopens after massive water main break. Mammoth Road was shut down for nearly 24 hours. Let's take a listen to that video from WR News 9.
It's in our nature to protect the ones we love.
Yeah, crews were out here since about 4 o'clock this morning. That's when the 60-year-old water main broke and spewed water all over the place. They are continuing to work at this hour, and they're hoping to wrap it up in the next few hours. Now, it was this morning when that water main cracked longitudinally, spewing nearly 2 million gallons of water through the pavement and leaving as many as 1,000 homes and the surrounding schools in the area without water. Crews spent the day on the hard part of the job, and that was excavating the pipe. And just before 4 o'clock this afternoon, the pipe was removed. Shortly after that, the work began to replace the pipe. About 125 customers are still without water, and they hope to have water restored to them in a few hours.
The DPW, the highway department's been out here working, cutting back the pavement on all the undermine, and they'll be here throughout the night, I suppose, taking care of it. Our crews will backfill the hole, and the DPW will come in and cut back the pavement. As you can see over there, a lot of cracked pavement. They'll take that out, and they'll come in and bring in fill and grade it, and get the road back in service.
And DPW says that they do hope to have the road, and they do expect actually to have the roads back in full working condition for tomorrow morning's commute. Live in Manchester, I'm Suzanne Rowntree, and let's toss it to Kristen Caroso. She's been talking with folks in Manchester who were affected by this water main break.
We are here on Johnson Street, a few feet away from that water main break on Mammoth Road. If you take a look next to me here, you can actually see some of the damage that has been left behind. The city has started working on that, but it hasn't been finished just yet. But if you go a few feet further here on Johnson Street, That used to be a hole at the end of someone's driveway, which has now been filled. Just one of the problems the city has been dealing with. This is what Johnson Street in Manchester looked like early Wednesday morning after a water main broke on Mammoth Road.
I woke up at 4 to go to work, and I came out to my car about 4:30, and I just see a river flowing down the street.
Firefighters went door to door, telling people to get their cars off the street and to alert them about what was going on.
The firefighter squads were pounding on the doors this morning at 4:30, and I was like, flew out of bed, and I just saw it was like the ocean coming down the street.
Because Johnson Street is on a hill, the water came rushing down, causing the most damage in the area. It left large holes in the road, sidewalks, and people's driveways.
I am so lucky that I don't have that here.
Colleen Grady lives a street over and doesn't have property damage, but she had quite the wake-up call.
I woke up to my pipes all shaking. It woke me up, like the whole house shook. I actually thought it was an earthquake.
And her tenant below was put into a tough situation.
Her daughter's in labor. She was supposed to be in a tub, and she couldn't, so they just took her to the hospital.
Bad timing.
Yes.
The good news is, city officials say water should be restored today.
It's bad. You don't know how much you miss it till you didn't got it.
Yeah, you're looking live here on Johnson Street yet again at this damage that is left behind. The people living here told me they just feel lucky their basements didn't flood, looking at the damage that this water main break has done. Now they're just waiting for their water service to be restored. We're live in Manchester. Kristen Carosa, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Manchester shooting victim identified. Death ruled homicide. Police respond to report of gunfire on Union Street Wednesday evening. Let's take a listen to that video from WMUR News 9.
Right. Millions of things are running through my mind. It's too bad that I lost a great friend yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to say goodbye.
Thursday morning, Zach Jones and his friends came to the alley in Manchester where they believed their friend was shot and killed.
Honestly, I felt like I had to come here this morning because I couldn't sleep last night. My mind's not at ease.
Neighbors reported hearing multiple shots around 7:45 Wednesday night in the alley between Grove and Bell Streets. Those same neighbors say the victim was shot as he sat inside a car. And while officials have not released the victim's identity, Jones has no doubt it was his friend.
Can't really put in words how I feel about the situation right now. I just know that I lost a good friend, and I know times are going to be tough.
Just gonna miss the fact that I had somebody that really was always there for me.
Isaiah Calden says the victim was someone who had a zest for life.
He was just always in a good mood, like a great mood, always making jokes, laughing.
Always positive, right?
Always positive.
And someone who was turning their life around with a new job and a 6-month-old baby boy. Asked about a possible motive for the shooting,
I don't know what caused it.
and he's having trouble coming to grips with what happened.
You look at the scene and just, for real, never gonna see him again. It just hurts.
The Attorney General's office is leading the investigation. They say the autopsy should be complete today. They also add that they don't believe there's any threat to the general public. Reporting live in Manchester, Ray Brewer, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Shaheen Hassan blasts GOP efforts in Washington, conquered to pass tough anti-abortion bills. Pro-choice Democrat lawmakers weigh in on the bills pending on Capitol Hill at State House. Senator Jeanne Shaheen and Maggie Hassan are pushing back on Republican-backed legislation pending on Capitol Hill and at the New Hampshire State House to invoke penalties in connection with late in pregnancy abortions in dealing with infants born as a result of failed abortions. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Thursday evening. Dow falls more than 100 points after suffering a sudden midday sell-off that confessed traders. Stocks fell on Thursday with most of the losses coming in a sudden move midday. Investigation into deadly shootings in Germany. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Away into that terror attack near Frankfurt, Germany. A gunman opening fire at two separate hookah lounges, killing at least 10 people. James Longman is there with the latest. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Michael. A far-right terror attack here in Germany last night. This is one of the cafes targeted. You can make out their cones marking where gun cases have been retrieved. It's a cafe popular with the town's Kurdish population. And German Chancellor Angela Merkel has been speaking this morning. She's saying racism is a poison in German society and it's to blame for far too many crimes.
This morning, 11 people, including the suspected shooter, are dead, and several are injured in a suspected far-right terror attack in Germany. Authorities say shots rang out around 10 p.m. local time in the town of Hanau, about 17 miles east of Frankfurt. The first target, this hookah lounge, where 3 people were killed. The suspect then moving on to a second cafe and killing 5, a 9th victim later dying of their injuries. These are venues popular with the town's Kurdish population, and authorities say the attacks had an explicit anti-foreigner motive. A huge police presence descending on the area, forensic teams setting in, bullet casings offering a glimpse of the carnage within. Police later tracked this black BMW, believed to have been used by the suspect, to an address in town. Inside, they found the 43-year-old man dead, along with his 72-year-old mother. A weapon was found alongside his body. He's understood to have owned the gun legally and was described as an expert marksman by one official. This attack, the latest in a spate of far-right terror attacks and plots to plague Germany in recent months.
Now, this is the third major far-right incident in Germany in the last 9 months. The last time I was here, I reported on an attack at a synagogue, and just last week, authorities carried out an anti-terror raid, arresting 12 people for plotting attacks on mosques across the country. This is a major problem in Germany right now. Michael?
Yes, it is, James. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye, everyone.